Hey everybody, it is the ASP.NET Community Stand-Up. It is Tuesday and it is 10 in the morning Pacific time, and again we do these every week, usually, except when we don't. We alternate between 10 a.m. and in the afternoon to try to cover as much of the world as possible. And right now we've got John Galloway and Dan Roth because everyone else is on vacation. And John, you've got kind of an overview of what's been going on in the community to share with us.
I do, yeah. So this was a great suggestion. I met up with Anthony Vanderhorn, and he recommended I run through some of these excellent suggestions. So I want to try and do these at the beginning of these to just kind of highlight what's going on, get people excited about it, etc. So one thing is we've got a Docker image. Can you see the screen okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay, so we got a Docker image. That's neat. We have Glimpse. They are hard at work at porting Glimpse to ASP.NET VNext. This is still early, but it's a public repo. You can take a look at this. And here's a look at their master list of issues, things they're working on. So they are learning a ton as they're going through this. One thing that they're really excited about is that logging has improved for them. So they're able to do a lot more with a lot less code with ASP.NET VNext. So this is Anthony Vanderhorn's repo here. There was a really cool post on running ASP.NET on Raspberry Pi. So this is walks through how to set it up and everything. So if it can be done, it will be done, and there it is. So this was featured on the ASP.NET Community Spotlight thing, Daily Community Spotlight. This is.
Mind making those fonts a little bigger?
I would love to. That's one of my skills. Okay, so this is ASP.NET VNext running on Spoon, the Spoon container system. Haven't read this at all, just looks neat. And then Daniel pointed out to me that the Serolog folks are porting ASP.NET VNext to Serolog, and Serolog, I hadn't looked at it honestly, but this is it's a structured logging system. So it's a cool .NET logging system, but it uses structured event data. And last one here we've got from Rick Strahl. He's got creating multi-target NuGet packages on VNext. And again, this is one I just wanted to point out. This is a big beefy post here on how to do it, and this will go up on the community spotlight as well. So that's it for me.
It sounds like there's definitely a lot of stuff going on, although it has been said to by people in the community that it's a little confusing how to get started yet. Would you agree, Dan, that we are certainly not fully documented as we are not fully done writing the thing?
Yeah, we still have a lot to do in the documentation department, that's for sure. Your best bets for getting started, of course, would be the ASP.NET website. So if you go to ASP.NET/VNext, that's where you're going to find all of our existing documentation to help you get started, how to get the latest Visual Studio preview, Visual Studio 2015. You're definitely going to want to get that. That'll get you up and running pretty quick. You can also, if you want to get started with the command line support in ASP.NET 5, you can go directly to our GitHub project, github.com/ASP.NET/home. We call it our home repo. You can find some instructions there on getting started just with the command line experience without any VS needed at all. And then, of course, if you want to try some of the third-party tooling, community-based tooling, there's OmniSharp.net, which will get you started with the tooling on, with Sublime and Atom, the other text editors.
So a good reminder that you don't necessarily need Visual Studio if you don't want it to mess around with ASP.NET.
That's true. That's right. That's one of the goals. You can have an experience all the way from just a text editor and a command prompt all the way up to a full premium tooling experience in Visual Studio 2015.
So let me take this stand-up in a little bit different direction since we have you here, Dan. I want to share my screen to you, okay? So
okay.
Share my screen. And this will be basically, there you go. So this is the dev preview. This is the one that the public has, right? This is the one we released. People can download this now. But it's true that this is old, right? Like when we release something, it's already kind of a week old because the daily builds are happening, right?
It's like that car that you just bought at the dealership, and as soon as you drive it off the parking lot, it's already old, right? It's a used car.
Oh, that's a tragedy. So if I open up a project here, this is just a file new project, and on this is the dev preview. This came out, I think, was it a month ago, right? Month and a half ago?
Yeah, that preview was in
Very good.
mid-November, right? So not that long ago.
So if we look at the project.json, it all says beta 1, beta 1, beta 1, right?
That's right.
And what are we on beta 2 yet, or are we on some daily between beta 1 and beta 2?
We are working on beta 2.
Okay.
We're in the process of yeah. So beta 2 is in progress right now. We're heading towards closing it down this month, and we expect to get beta 2 into people's hands probably January of next year.
So could you talk a little bit about the difference between Visual Studio and the version of the .NET framework that it uses versus getting like a daily build of ASP.NET and also these command line tools? Because I know when I type KVM list, which is the command line to say, hey, what .NET frameworks, what K runtime, what stuff do you have? You can see here I've got some of the older stuff before we made the name Core, CLR, and CLR. And I've got Alpha 4, Beta 1. Help me understand. These are from previous versions, right? This is the one that came when I put Visual Studio on. Is that right?
That's right. Beta 1 is what comes with Visual Studio 2015 preview.
Okay, and these are located in the packages folder. This is all true. This is not in Windows, Microsoft.NET, GAC, Global Assembly Cached, whatever. This list here on the left, is that the same list if I go into Visual Studio and right-click and say Properties and then pull this down?
It is the same list, as you can see. Like you're seeing exactly the same versions there.
Okay.
That's how you select which KRE you want to target. Basically, when you hit F5 from within Visual Studio.
Okay.
The way Visual Studio normally works is it's going to use the KRE, the K runtime environment. That's the runtime environment for everything we do in ASP.NET 5. It's going to use the KRE that's been marked as default in your aliases. So if you go back to like the command prompt and look at the KVM list again, you can list your aliases, which are just user-friendly strings that you can associate with one of these complicated version numbers. These version numbers have the is it full desktop? Is it core CLR? Is it AMD 64? Is it x64? And what specific version of the K runtime environment it is? You can associate one of those with a simple string, which we call an alias. So I think it's a KVM alias or aliases. I can't remember if it's plural.
Alias. It's just single.
Okay.
KVM
So here I've got one that's marked as default.
Oh yeah, that's right. It shows up in the listing as well.
And it's 64-bit, and it's Beta 1. And is that, because it's called default, that's the one that Visual Studio uses?
Yes, that's the one that Visual Studio will pick up. So it's kind of special. The default alias is special to Visual Studio.
Okay, and when we say KRE, that's not the .NET framework. That's not this common language runtime. That's kind of the ASP.NET runtime, for lack of a better word. Right? We have runtime appears multiple times, which can be confusing to people.
Yes. Well, to be fair, it's the K runtime environment, because what the KRE is actually doing is the CLR that your .NET code runs on. It actually needs a host process to run in. And normally when you're if you're building full .NET framework applications, the hosting process there's some infrastructure that's set up in Windows to set up so you can run an exe, like a console app, for example, and have a CLR host set up for you. With ASP.NET 5, it's a little different. We have our own CLR host. And we have the infrastructure to actually flexibly host which CLR you choose. Like, do you want to host the .NET Core, the Core CLR, or do you want to host the full desktop CLR? Or if you're on on a Mac or Linux, you can choose to host the mono CLR, or in the future our own cross-platform CLR. So it really is a runtime environment. It's the thing that's hosting the CLR.
Okay, so I've been using this diagram here that Damien gave me. So that K runtime is kind of like it's the environment in which ASP.NET hosts that application. It's the controller around all of those things.
Yep, and it takes control of the hosting of the CLR and then the entire stack on top of it. Like, it'll hook a bunch of runtime events for doing things like managing how dependencies get loaded. That's what allows us, for example, to go load NuGet packages instead of doing the normal assembly loading dance that you would be familiar with on the desktop.NET framework.
Okay, so now my NuGet packages are here, and if I say extension, excuse me, if I say, I made a mistake there. If I say tools, NuGet package manager settings, this is kind of the NuGet.org kind of standard stuff. What if I want to get that's NuGet though. What if I want daily builds of the next version of ASP.NET?
Right. Well, so the first thing you're going to want to do is, like, I'm guessing you're actually saying you want to get a daily build of the actual KRE. If all you want is daily builds of the NuGet packages, you can just add the ASP.NET VNext, the dev feed, to your set of NuGet packages, and then just update your NuGet packages, and you can then pull down, for example, the latest daily build of Beta 2, and you can get those packages today. It would be running, though, on top of the Beta 1 KRE, which in some cases may work. In other cases, there may have been a change to the underlying KRE that the new packages require. And you know that when you're playing with the dev builds, you're kind of playing with fire, and it's for advanced users, so hopefully that's just something you come to expect. But you can just add our dev feed to your set of NuGet package sources, and then just use KPM or from within VS, update your packages to a Beta 2 version.
Okay.
If you want to actually update the KRE itself, that's what you're going to use the K version manager for.
All right. So where would I get that? Where would I get I have to get those two things, right?
Right.
Where would I get the NuGet source first? The dev.
That's a myget one, right?
Right, but where I'm trying to point out that I'm searching around for it. It's hard to find. So where would I look?
Yeah.
So one easy way to do this is go to myget.org, and honestly, like I said before, documentation leaves some to be desired. It may actually be on the that's the actual feed right there. The other way you can do is just go to myget.org and search for ASP.NET, and you'll find the three feeds: the master, release, and dev branch. But that's the ASP.NET VNext branch. That is the dev feed that we use on myget for all of our dev packages.
So that would be daily ASP.NET 5.
Yep.
Not the KRE. Right? And I can turn that on and off if I wanted to.
The daily KRE is there, but in order to get the KRE, you have to use a different mechanism than just the normal NuGet sources, because the KRE is a special beast, right? It's like the very foundations of your house, whereas loading NuGet packages is done by KPM, which builds on the KRE, and so you can't have that sort of circular reference. So the KVMs, where the KVM will find the KRE is actually is specified in KVM itself. By default, if you got KVM from the home repo, if you went to github.com/ASP.NET/home and copied the PowerShell script there to download the KVM, you're going to get a KVM that is set up to find KREs on NuGet.org.
Okay.
It'll just go to NuGet.org to find a KRE. And we've put the Beta 1 KRE on NuGet.org. And we only put packages on and KREs on NuGet.org that are actually official release previews, not daily dev builds.
Right.
The things we've released there. You can get daily builds of the KRE on that myget feed. Now, to tell the KVM that you want to get KREs from someplace else other than the NuGet.org, you have to go do a little bit of a dance. There's a special environment variable that you can set to say, don't use the normal NuGet.org place to find KREs, use this other one instead. Okay. And that environment variable is KRE_NuGet _API _URL.
Okay, and would that be this one?
Yeah, and then you're also going to want to add /API v2 at the end.
API v2?
Yep. API slash
new version of is using a new NuGet thing?
It's not a new version. It's just that for this particular case, the KVM's a little picky about the URL you give it. It's actually API /v2, Scott.
Like that.
There you go. And that magic environment variable will tell KVM, please get KREs from there.
So then what would I do then? I've got these when I say KVM list. I would say KVM upgrade.
Now, if you just say KVM upgrade, what it's going to do is it's going to go to that feed that you just specified and ask for the latest, greatest KRE that's there, and then download and install it. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Like that.
That's the way I would do it.
And when you say upgrade,
so there's beta 2, and then what's that number? Is that just a date, or is that just a special number?
That's a build number. That's just a build number.
Okay. So look at that. So I'm going to, while that's happening, I'm going to go over to users Scott KRE and go into packages. Yeah, see? So it just lives alongside.
Just another KRE. Have as many as you like.
Now, here it updated the alias, though. Will that mess up my Visual Studio?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it will. That's very good to know. I've done this right before presentations. I'll do KVM upgrade, and then nothing works, right?
How do you fix that? We got to fix that now, Scott.
Okay, so KVM alias, we don't want that, right?
Yep.
So KVM alias default, and we want it to be
1.0.0 dash beta
1.0.0 dash beta 1, and in this case I was AMD 64 and I was using the CLR. So then KVM list, this one is active in this environment here, correct?
Yes.
That one's the default.
Yep.
So this would allow me then to run my application that I'm testing under this version, the CLR. But it sounds like we definitely don't want to change the default on an upgrade.
Probably not. I mean, you can, but then Visual Studio itself will be using a different KRE than it was tested with, built with, and we can't exactly give you any guarantees at all about what's going to happen. Most likely something will break.
Can I ask?
We don't want to be doing that.
Can I ask you a question? If you can go back to the command prompt there.
Sure.
You've got the default is set, but active is starred on that beta 2. So what's the difference here between active and default?
Right. So default is just an alias, and it's just saying tag this particular version with an alias default, and Visual Studio happens to use whatever version of the KRE has been tagged as default. Active means that particular version of the KRE is on your path in this particular command prompt, and if you were to type like K or KPM, that's the version of the KRE you're going to be using from that command prompt.
Okay, so that makes sense. This is active for this environment. I could have a different command prompt open, and it would be. And if you notice that when you say KVM, you can say KVM use, and on an individual basis, you can say I can say KVM, and if we see KVM use, I can indicate whether it's persistent, meaning it's going to be in the path, and global, or in this case here, I could just say KVM use this or that. And I went, actually, if you see when I do KVM lists, I made one of them called core, just because I felt like it, and I could then say KVM use core, and someone else could say dev, test, or staging, or whatever they want.
Yep.
Right? And the magic name is default.
Given that you're now on a beta 2 build, if you type KPM right now on the.
Before I do that, I just want to confirm that my new one shows up here. All right. So KVM, you want to say KPM?
Yeah, KPM is the K package manager. So you're on a beta 2 build. If you look at KPM, you'll, like for example here, you'll see you are on the latest dev bits. You have the latest bits that we've been working on. You notice even a new command showing up KPM, KPM wrap. That's some infrastructure that we're actually working on right now for beta 2 to enable adding references to existing CS projects from an ASP.NET 5 project. So if you're like working on a new MVC6 app and you've got some existing CS proj-based library that you just want to reference, you don't want to have to migrate it to be a ASP.NET 5 class library. KPM wrap is some infrastructure that will allow us to take that project, wrap it so that the ASP.NET 5 runtime can reason about it. And we'll be wiring that up into add reference in the next preview of Visual Studio 2015.
Cool. Well, then we should do a stand-up and talk about wrap when it's time.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, that's super, super useful. Thank you very much. We're going to hopefully have more and more kind of docs. This is just a little bit of an insight into what's going on. But if you choose to follow along on the dailies, you certainly can. I don't think you can mess your machine up, can you, Daniel?
With what you just did, with like installing a carry on the command line, super simple. All it's doing is adding some files into your user profile and setting another segment on the path variable. You can just delete the KRE folders from user profile and it's gone. It's actually very non-invasive.
All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. This is the ASP.NET Community Stand-Up, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye-bye.